Alright, so proceeding with this lesson, I'm going to show you this mesh over here, which is the mesh that I created beforehand. As you can see, it's already fading, and this is not because of a texture. This is because I actually baked the alpha color directly in the mesh. I'm simply going to show you how that works. I know you guys use Maya, I think, but in Maya the technique is a bit different, but like the same thing can be done. But so I just need it to be a polygon. So if I just click on a vertex in 3ds Max, I have the option over here to control the alpha. Now there's other tools to make the alpha fade so that we have something smooth, because obviously I'm not just clicking each of them individually and changing the number here. But you'll see if I put this to 100, now it's fully white. If I put it to 0, now it's completely black. And this is for the alpha. I can also change the color. So if I go and display, because right now it's displaying the alpha, but if I click to display vertex color, everything is white. But if I want, I could click color over here and assign it any color that I want. And then when I export the FBX of that object, I can actually close this now, or I'll just leave it open in the back. When I export the object in 3D in Unreal, it keeps those settings. You know, when we imported the mesh, I forgot to go over that part again. But when we import the mesh at the beginning and we choose the option to replace particle color, we're actually telling Unreal to keep what we did in here. We're not actually replacing, we're actually keeping what we did here. So we have a mesh that has alpha already in it, and the way that we can access that alpha is through the vertex color node. So if I get vertex color in here, and by the way, everything is being shown on standard plane over here. But if I want, I can scroll down and I can change the preview mesh to our mesh slash. So we get to see the preview directly on what we're actually going to use it on in here. So we have this. So we simply have to, again, multiply. We use multiply a lot. So we're not using the vertex color for the RGB, we're just using the vertex alpha. So we just need that last node over there. We simply plug this here, and then same thing, we want the alpha to affect the color. Let's actually give us some more space so that things are properly aligned. I like to have straight lines, you know, looks so much cooler. So anyway, I'm just gonna move this up a bit like this, and I don't like these two lines crossing each other, but I won't get mental about it. So anyway, let's just save. And now that it's saved, we should see the fading on the edge. And the reason why I did it directly in the mesh is because I want the front view and the side view to work well along with this. And if I'm just using a texture, because I've got two meshes that are sort of intertwined into each other, that are crossing each other, and if I use a gradient that fades, I want the front over here to be sharp, and then I want it to fade really quickly towards the outside, and I want it to fade slower over a longer set of pixels on the inside. But I don't want this to be happening on the front part of the mesh. I want the front part of the mesh to be fading equally at the same, not speed, but at the same length on each side. And if I was using a texture, then it would be unbalanced. We would see that it's fading from black to white quickly, and then all the way to black. So my solution to this, instead of creating like a custom material that would be even more complicated, where, I don't know, depending on which face you get a different texture or whatever, or I just simply decided to bake it in the mesh, making it much more simple. So so now we have this in here, and if we look at the preview, did I actually save it? Let's just dock this here. Let's click save. Let's put this down. Well, it's working, but I don't like the top over here. So yeah, we need another multiply, I guess. Let's just move everything back over here. We can move this back here, and you know there's no really any difference in where you put your multiply. If you multiply this, you could change the order, multiply it like this, and then back around like that. It's the same result in the end. It's math. It's just math. So like 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8, no matter in which order you place them, or 1 times 2 times 3. That's 6. Like if you do 3 times 1 times 2, you still get to 6. So the order in which you put your multiplies doesn't matter as long as you keep the same branches in the end. So let's just move this. Let's get you know what, we could use the same texture again. So let's just copy paste this one, and we'll call this one static alpha. So this alpha won't be moving. So we simply multiply these together. And we save. And now we should have something, oh yeah, much more smooth. There we go. So the color itself, we're not really getting close to the, that's better. We're not getting close to the higher tones because the texture is very dark. We don't, like, everything is in the gray tones. They don't get much too white, so that's why we don't see much of the right side of the gradient where it's actually yellow. So if we multiply the value that we have here before it's plugged in the UVs, then we are going to reach those higher tones of the color gradient. So we can simply put a multiply over there, and if we multiply it by, I'm going to multiply it by 3 for now. It's not going to look right, but that's because I want to show you something important regarding color gradient. I guess 3 was too short of a number, but you know what? If I let's just ignore these two textures for now, and you will see what's happening. Alright, so as you can see, the texture is sort of repeating itself inside of the mesh. This is because we're multiplying it by 3. It's the same thing as multiplying the UVs by 3 over here. When we have a higher number than 1, then the same texture sort of kicks in on the inside of the mesh, showing it twice on the X axis, or on the Y axis if we put it here. So if I multiply my alpha over here by 3, then we see the pattern repeating 3 times on the inside as it fades in. In order to avoid this because we can see clear cuts where the texture starts again, we simply need to do the same thing we did earlier, is we set this texture to clamp. So when the value at 0 is here, the value at 1 is there. If we clamp it, the value goes from 0 to 1, and it never actually reaches 3. It stays at 1, it doesn't go higher. But since we're going to use, since we're using this noise texture that has a lot of lower gray tones, we need to multiply it so that we can reach those values better. Yeah, so this is multiplied by 3. If I multiplied by 10, do we see it here? Not sure if it got updated. Oh, I think it's not getting updated because it's a static number and not a parameter. A way for this to be updated is to create a parameter by holding S, a scalar, and it was set to 3 earlier. If I save this, it's going to compile. But since I'm feeding the value from this kind of input, I can change it here and it's going to update faster. Yeah, so 3, 10, 50. Yeah, we can see the result over there. 100. I guess maybe 20. Yeah, 20 is looking good. So I do, yeah, I think I like this kind of this effect. Maybe something lower like 15. And you know what? Do we want to dynamically change this value afterwards? I'm not even sure. Yeah, let's give it a proper name. We'll call this one because we already sort of have, like, we have this color over here, which is multiplied there. We can call this color gradient multiplier. I hope it makes sense. I hope you all understand. So let's save this. How long is this video? 13 minutes. Alright, I will stop it there.